Hello, Duke fans, and welcome to episode 499. Are we calling this episode 499, or do we?
I think we're calling it a Bites. We're calling it a Bites.
We have to call it Bites. All right, fine. I guess this is DBR Bites episode 20. Now I have to keep track of two different numbers, which I'm doing it for now. We'll see how.
Wait, Sam. There's only one number you have to keep track of. One, the number of ACC titles that Jon Scheyer has coached Duke to.
Yeah, Jon Scheyer undefeated in the ACC tournament through 1 year of the ACC tournament. So pretty cool. I'm your host for this episode. I'm Sam Klein. I've got Jason Evans and Donald Wine here. I think Jason is somewhere quiet, so let him introduce himself first. Jason, what's up, man?
I just had a really good time.
ACC Champs.
I had a really good time watching that game. It was an incredible effort by the Blue Devils. So much fun. We should let everyone know, by the way, we're recording this like a minute and a half after the game ended, so we're probably not going to have many headlines, all that stuff. It's not going to be as polished as usual. This is raw. This is rough. This is real.
Yeah, we're the real polished guys. Donald Wine, I think is on the floor of a casino. So Donald, give us the vibe right now.
So I am at, for people who know, I am at Circa, which is one of the casinos here in Las Vegas. But they have a swim-up pool that you can watch all the games at. So I was actually at the stadium swim to watch this game, and holy hell, I am so glad that we won that game. It was a terrible game to watch from an aesthetic standpoint, but man, I'm glad we pulled it off. Once again, we've done so much over this tournament over the last 3 weeks. We have won in every single way. We won by defense. We won by getting the points that we needed to against a team that always limits it. And man, we are now ACC champions. I think Jon Scheyer is the first coach since Vic Bubas to do that in his first year as a Duke coach.
First Duke coach since
Vic Bubas.
That's Vic Bubas coached in the 60s.
Yes.
Wait. This is the first podcast we've done from a pool. I just want to point that out. We've been at this since 2015.
Is it?
Technically, I am outside the pool now. It does not work with phones and water. I know it's 2023, but I am just outside the pool. So yes, we could call it the swim up pool.
I don't remember if I've ever recorded at the pool before. It's totally possible. Like I don't know that's definitive, Jason. Someone will have to tell us. Anyway, I will tell you something that is official, and that's that Duke are the ACC champs.
Hell yeah.
It has been an incredibly weird season, I think, in Jon Scheyer's first year, but they get to hang a banner in Cameron this year in his first season. The final score is 59-49. They cut away from the game, so I don't know this officially, but I assume that Kyle Filipowski won ACC Tournament, whatever they call that, player
MVP,
of the week.
Most outstanding player. If he didn't, they need to do a recount. There's like no way he didn't win it. He averaged 19.5 poits per game. And like
I'm calling it. He won it. I don't care what they say or who they give it to. It's him.
He's my ACC tournament MVP. I need to read one headline, Jason, before I let you read other ones, because it came from my guy Nick Jackson, and I think he sent us the first version of this, although we got multiple of them, that just says,
"This is a good one.
We consider this matter closed." I really don't know how to sum this up better than Duke. We talked going into the ACC tournament that Duke's on this 6-game winning streak, and at the end of that 6-game winning streak, they had beaten a few teams that were either tournament bound or trying to get into the tournament. UNC, NC State, these types of teams heading into the tournament. We said, on the one hand, Duke has a slightly favorable path to the championship, and on the other hand, they could face both Miami and Virginia along the way. The last two teams that they lost to, that ended up coming true. Duke beats Miami yesterday. They beat Virginia today by 10 points, although I think it was closer than that for a decent portion of the second half. So let me ask you guys first for headlines, and then I want to hear about the good, of course. So Jason, any other headlines from the listeners or from you, if you came up with one in the last 5 minutes since the game ended?
Yeah, so I don't have one, but our listeners are coming through. So Ken Swanner, who is someone that we frequently get headlines from. Ken has Jon Scheyer, the new sheriff in town. I like that. That's a very good one. Keith Lamack May the real ACC champions please stand up. And that is, of course, the Blue Devils. And then Nick King. I like this one. Who better than Duke in the ACC? And he spells who, H-O-O. Those are all really good ones. And we just got one from Eric Bishop. Grinded out in Greensboro. Devils cut down the net with dominant D. And that the defense is the story of this game. No question about it.
Donald, give me your headline.
I don't have a headline. I think the one that we say we consider this matter closed sums it up perfectly. But yeah, it was all the headlines that we've gotten so far are great. I haven't had a chance to read all of them, but keep them coming. Even if you're listening to this, send in our headline, dbrpodcast@gmail.com.
Jason, I'm going to let you start the conversation on Duke's defense. Couple numbers I want to throw at you. Virginia shoots 4 for 17 from 3. They shoot 16 for 48 overall from the field. So from the field on the night, Virginia is just 33%. What was Duke doing to make Virginia take such bad shots all night long?
What Duke was doing was Duke had Dereck Lively in the middle of that defense in the middle of the lane. And Virginia, there's no way to say it other than this. Virginia was afraid. They were scared of going into the lane and taking shots against Dereck Lively. He finished the game. Crazy thing is he finished the game with 2 block shots. But I mean, there's at least 10 or 15 times that Virginia was in the lane. Like literally, guys penetrated, they got the ball in there, and they went, I'm not doing this because this will come screaming the other direction if I put up a shot here. I think we cannot overstate how much this 9-game run that Duke is on, this 9-game winning streak, and it actually goes back even further than that, really to the first Carolina game. The degree to which Dereck Lively has changed Duke's defense and made this team into a team where opponents are, like I said, there's no way to say it other than they're afraid to go in the lane against Duke. Look, in the first half, Virginia shot 27% from the field and 14% from 3. And they couldn't get good shots. We were contesting everything. We were making it hard for them to get the shots they wanted. That continued into the second half. They had a couple moments in the second half where they would get a little bit more. But for the most part, this entire game, like you said, Virginia shoots 33%, 23% from the 3-point line. And part of that was them being cold, but almost all of the rest of it was Duke playing phenomenal defense. And by the way, I want to also credit, I thought Mark Mitchell, I saw Dereck Whitehead, Jeremy Roach. All these guys were working so hard on the Virginia perimeter players, Tyrese Proctor as well, to not let them have any space. Virginia, Kihei Clark had one of his worst games of his career. And that is due to and Armand Franklin. Every one of these guys struggled because the Duke defense was so strong. It's the story of the game.
Kihei Clark makes his first basket with like 2 minutes left in this game, and he's been the engine for Virginia for 5 years.
Well, and really quick, the incredible stat about Kihei Clark is not that he was 1 for 9 from the field. The incredible Kihei Clark stat is he had 1 assist. Think about that. He has
an amazing performance on defense for Duke, holding Virginia to 49, and honestly, for a good stretch of this game, Duke was holding Virginia to be on pace to only score 40 points. Donald, jump in here. Talk to me about the Duke defense.
Look, every shot was contested. It felt like almost every shot had a Duke hand in someone's face from Virginia, and I think that contributed a lot to Virginia shooting woes. And even for us, all year we've said our defense has been the leader and our offense has yet to catch up. And yeah, our offense wasn't great tonight, but the momentum that we got was from defensive stands. And we had a couple where they were able to work the shot clock all the way down, and then UVA was forced to throw up like a 25-footer with 2 people in their face. And I think that was it was hounding defense. It was unrelenting. It was unwavering. And as UVA even tried to creep back into it, Duke was able to make these defensive stops at key moments, and from there, we were able to make the points necessary to win this game. It's unbelievable how this defense played throughout the tournament, but especially tonight. and the fact that they were able to just hold UVA to their worst, first half of the year, and it's just overall being able to hold them at bay and make it where they're making tough shots throughout the game.
Let me give you guys the basic stat comparison that stands out to me the most from this one. Duke turns the ball over in this game 11 times. Virginia turned the ball over 12 times. In a year
that doesn't happen. By the way, that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to anyone that plays Virginia.
Exactly.
And in a year where Duke has had such a hard time holding on to the ball, and look, Duke had a couple of those weird turnovers tonight. A couple of the ones where, whether it's Jeremy Roach or Kyle Filipowski, where
my God, Roach had back-to-back turnovers that were so ugly. So the first one was a completely blown fast break, and then he just handed the ball to Reese Beekman, Jeremy Roach had 4 points of turnovers in a matter of 15 seconds. It was crazy.
and despite that, Duke still wins the turnover battle in this game. UVA turns the ball over 12 times to Duke's 11. Donald, tell me about Duke being able to hang on to the ball, and then I know you have to take off. So give us that, and then maybe one parting word for Jon Scheyer's first ACC championship.
Yeah, well, first, hats off to this Duke team. Like I said, they have overcome so much. They have grown before our eyes over the last few weeks and really the last month. And guys stepped up in ways that they haven't. Every time that there was a new challenge, these guys stepped up. Again, we've talked about taking care of the basketball. It's been our Achilles heel all year. Tonight, they relatively did well at taking care of the basketball. There was a couple times where UVA was able to force some steals, but we were able to do that on ourselves. And I think, again, our defense kind of helped our offense kind of remain at bay. But just to sum it all up, look, Jon Scheyer's in his first year. He's had to really, in the area of social media, and he's talked about this during the year, the amount of pressure that he was under and the amount of pressure that he was able to overcome, and this team was able to grow with this coaching staff, is simply surreal. And I didn't think we'd be standing here saying that Jon Scheyer would be an ACC tournament champion, but here we are saying that. And I can't be prouder of this team. And honestly, it gives me so much more excitement. Tomorrow we have the selection show. Where are we going to go? Who are we going to play? I guarantee this. Nobody in the country wants smoke with the Duke Blue Devils because they're playing their best basketball right now. And they're beating everybody in front of them, including some really, really good teams that people probably a month ago thought we would lose to. This is a great, great win for Duke.
Donald, you mentioned Jon Scheyer and his ability to sort of pull this team together. I don't know if either of you guys heard his comments to Holly Rowe immediately after the game. They did have the feed sort of lingered on Jon Scheyer there for a minute before they cut over to the UCLA game. He seemed like he was almost in shock. Like he was going through all the sort of standard coach speak about, how good the team played on defense and how they came together at the end of the season. But the impression I got from his post-game interview was, oh my God, we won a thing. Like we have a good team here. And you could see the relief on they panned the camera over to Scheyer's parents there in the last minute when Duke was just taking free throws to ice the game. And they were like,
they were going crazy.
Like we did.
Going nuts.
I got so fired up when they put on the clips of Jon Scheyer from when he was in school. Cause Jon Scheyer, if people remember, was an absolute beast in the ACC tournament. Jon Scheyer loved playing in the ACC tournament. And so I was like, oh yeah, he comes to play for this. Like this is something that he takes seriously. He loves this event. So I was thrilled for that. I've told you how much I've wanted to give him the slack this year on all the things that have gone wrong. What a week it has been for him to get this Duke team out performing as well as they did against two teams who are good teams headed to the NCAA tournament, another team that was fighting for their NCAA tournament lives, and the two teams that Duke beat this week to finish off the week are teams that had beaten the Blue Devils very recently. One in crushing, destructive fashion, and one in crushing, heartbreaking fashion. So
and also Sam, those are the last two losses Duke has had this year. That week where we had Miami and then UVA, those are the only two losses. Those are the last two losses that we have seen this Duke team have. So yeah, it's phenomenal how they've turned around since that week, which we remember that week being such a, an awful week in the sense of, the Miami game was not anything to write home about. The UVA game was so frustrating, and the matter to be, is to be closed and all that. And to rebound from that and to be standing here as ACC tournament champions, like, that's amazing. This is amazing, amazing turnaround for this team.
All right, Donald, we're going to let you go. So say goodbye to the people.
All right, goodbye to the people. We will see you tomorrow, Selection Sunday. Let's go.
Enjoy
Absolutely.
Vegas, baby.
Jason, we haven't gotten to talk much about Kyle Filipowski yet. ACC Tournament MVP. What can you say about Kyle Filipowski's effort and all the skills that he displayed in this one?
It's so easy to sort of say, oh, he's a big guy who can shoot outside and can handle the ball. Like, it's so simple to describe him that way. That's like not fair to his game. The moves he puts in the post are really advanced. Like, he knows how to create that extra little bit of space for himself. He's a rebounder. I'm not sure we've seen many guys who have a nose for rebounding the way that he does. Certainly it's like, I guess maybe like Marvin Bagley, or maybe not Zion really. I guess Bagley's like the last guy I can think of like that, who, when the ball went up, you're just like, well, he's probably going to get this rebound. And his ability to play on any level of the floor, out at the 3-point line, give him the ball in the mid post and have him make a move, or just have him post up someone and put them on his butt and then finish, all the way down on the blocks. And the fact that he does all this at 7'1", like, I think he's like 230 or so. Yeah, he's a really, really special. We haven't seen many guys like him in a Duke uniform, and it was all on display in this Virginia game. Playing against the best defensive team other than Duke in the ACC, he put on a show at times. There's nothing more to say than that.
UVA didn't have Ben Vanderplas in this game. I don't know that Ben Vanderplas was stopping whatever Kyle Filipowski was bringing. And they're always going to hold you to a low scoring total, but Filipowski display, as you said, he can sort of do it from everywhere on the floor. The floaters. I'll tease you my play of the game, which is Kyle Filipowski passing out of the double team to Tyrese Proctor for the 3.
Like, not even a question. There's not even a question that's the play of the game. We don't even have to. We don't have to have the discussion.
What is that?
Of course, it's the play of the game. Yeah.
What was that?
Well, the crazy thing about that play, and we'll just say it right now. Okay, this is our favorite play. We're doing the favorite play segment.
This is the play of the game. I mean, this was. If for some reason you missed it, this is an all-timer thing.
It's unbelievable. So let's be clear. It's a 6-point game with 8 minutes left. UVA has cut the lead to 6. This is as close as they will get. I think. Did they get it? They got to 4.
They got down to 4 in the last minute.
But it was over by you. With 8 minutes left, 6-point game, you were like, uh-oh. I mean, nerves were on high. I was sweating bullets here in my Atlanta living room. And Flip gets the ball in the post, and he gets whacked. Let's be clear. He got bumped. He was clearly fouled. I don't know how they didn't call the foul. There's no call, though. And he's like falling out of bounds and all this other stuff. He makes an impossible. I don't know how he saw Tyrese Proctor. I don't know how he threaded the ball through like 6 sets of arms. But that pass to Tyrese Proctor, that Proctor then buries for a 3-pointer. By the way, I may be wrong. I'm not sure that Proctor had scored to that point. Tyrese Proctor really struggled early in the first half and throughout most of the second half. Like, Tyrese Proctor and Mark Mitchell didn't score in the first half, I think.
Well, very few people scored in the first half because
really, it was like flipping.
Duke only scored 24 points in the first half,
and like half of them were Kyle Filipowski. But that pass and then Proctor burying that shot were incredible. And by the way, literally, Virginia comes down the next play, like right after that 3-pointer, and Flip gets the steal and comes down and gets a dunk on back-to-back plays. That took the lead from 6 to 11, and Duke was able to hold Virginia at bay the rest of the game. By the way, we never trailed in this game, not once. I want to remind everyone that we ended this tournament, this difficult ACC tournament, against 3 tournament teams. Pitt's making the tournament. I don't want to discuss that. We ended this tournament, all 3 of our games, we won fairly comfortably. I mean, there were some tense moments. Miami was kind of close for a little bit, but like in the final minute, I'm not sure that any of these games were really in doubt. That's a really dominating performance by the Blue Devils.
Jason, I totally forgot to mention the other sort of narrative around Flip in this game. As good as he played, do you remember?
0 points last game.
He scored 0 points against UVA in that overtime loss in Charlottesville. I mean, how good does he? You could see it when he made that pass. There was another basket right around when he made that pass to Proctor, where he was emoting. He was looking up at the crowd.
Dunk,
he was
the play I described, the dunk right afterwards. He was
fired up. And I can only imagine what it feels like after the embarrassment of that game and the heartbreak of that game, the one that was in Charlottesville, to come back and feel this one. Anyone else on Duke, Jason, that you want to highlight from this game? I feel like we talked about the defense and Dereck Lively already, but there's so much else it feels like that was going good for. I mean, Jeremy Roach has all these plays down the stretch.
We've got to talk about Jeremy Roach. March Roach is a special character. He is someone who understands when the game is on the line late that the ball will be in his hands and he will make good things happen. Repeatedly, as Virginia tried to inch back into this in the final 3 or 4 minutes, Jeremy Roach was the guy who went out there and made the big play. The same way he did yesterday against Miami. Remember, yesterday against Miami, he had that huge basket, that huge 3-pointer that kept them at bay. This game was the same way. In the final few minutes, Jeremy Roach was making all the big plays. I mean, look, Filipowski gets 20 points. Roach got 23. Those 2 guys were Duke's entire offense. I haven't bothered to total. Wait, I'm going to do the quick math here. Hold on 1 second. So the rest of the Duke team, everyone else in uniform for Duke, was 4 for 16. Other than Flip and Roach, the rest of the team was 4 for 16 from the field. So needless to say, Jeremy Roach and Kyle Filipowski were the man together, and they won this game for the Blue Devils.
And everybody else was doing it on defense. That was that was the key to success tonight. Is that I don't know how much we can harp on it. Holding Virginia, even in a game where we told you both Duke and UVA are going to play slow in this one. No one is speeding up. There were some fast break points. But other than that, this game moved about as slow as molasses. Duke held Virginia to just horrible shooting all over the floor. And it was very much a team effort.
Well, my friend Jonathan pointed out that last game, Virginia had tried to speed up the game a little bit. They tried to speed up their offense. That was how they were trying to maybe get a little bit better shots. And I saw them doing that in the second half as well. The fact that Duke's defense was able to adjust to Virginia playing a little bit faster. They absolutely played a faster pace in the second half than they did in the first half. And the Duke defense was completely unfazed by it. A couple other guys I wanted to mention. I thought Ryan Young had a couple really nice moments in this game, made some really good passes at times against Virginia. And I thought he gave us a much better contribution off the bench today than he has been lately. And Dereck Whitehead
that's the difference between playing Miami and playing Virginia is that Ryan Young can be effective against Virginia.
Exactly. And then I want to mention Dereck Whitehead had a really interesting, at least the first half for him. And it's worth noting, for the second game in a row, down the stretch in the final 4 or 5 minutes of a competitive game, Dereck Whitehead was in there, and Jon Scheyer was sort of rotating some other guys, but he wanted Whitehead in the game. And I think that's a big piece of development for Whitehead. But the thing I wanted to mention about him was the game couldn't have started worse for Dereck Whitehead. The first time he came into this contest, he had a really bad turnover. Then he forced a shot that was not a good shot, and then he immediately committed a foul. And Scheyer pulled him out. I mean, it was as bad a couple minutes as you'll see. And Scheyer pulled him out, and I was like, we're getting the bad Dereck Whitehead in this game. And then Whitehead came back in a few minutes later, promptly drained a long jumper with a guy in his face, and it was a good in rhythm shot. He grabbed a couple steals. It was this weird, like, you got both sides of Dereck Whitehead in the span of a couple minutes. Like, here's the bad, here's the good. And, obviously I would have loved to have seen a little more good from him, but the glimpses he's showing, the glimpses he continues to show, I know we're at the point where the season's almost done, but I'm starting to get a little more hope that I'm gonna get a little more from Dereck Whitehead. And again, the fact that he's playing down the stretch at the end, I think that's mostly his defense that has him in there. And Duke has a lot of versatility. You want to go big, we can go big. You want to go small, we can bring in Dereck Whitehead and go small.
I want to give Jon Scheyer one more piece of credit from this. And I was thinking about it earlier in the game. He called a few timeouts in the second half. You mentioned Duke leads this game wire to wire. And that sort of underrates how much UVA was threatening Duke in the second half. Because you get that feeling when you play UVA that they are only a couple of buckets away from, like having you down by 3, and it feels very hard to come back when you're losing to UVA. The way that Jon Scheyer managed the game, managed the usage of his timeouts, and managed the play calling in this one, I thought displayed an immense amount of both maturity on his part and trust in his team, that he knew that they knew what to do to keep Virginia at arm's length. UVA gets it into a 4-point game with a minute left, but otherwise it was at least a 5-point game. So it was 2 possessions the whole way in the second half and for most of the first half. And I think Jon Scheyer's game management here was a big part of that. And going against a coach in Tony Bennett, who we knows how to deploy every advantage for himself, I am really impressed with the job that Jon Scheyer did. And Jason, I don't know if you're still reading our emails, but we got an email a couple minutes ago from our friend Jamie Campbell, who said, I'm not the vindictive type, but I get the whole vengeance is best served cold stuff, but the Duke community owes Jon Scheyer an apology. Just a thought. I think there were points in this season, and look, Duke hasn't been to the NCAA tournament yet. Call me again if Duke gets a 4 seed tomorrow and then loses to a 13 in the first round. I don't know that that's happening, but it certainly is possible. However, to this point in the season, I think we have to give Jon Scheyer a ton of credit, developing his coaching style to be, there are some things in which he's clearly Mike Krzyzewski's disciple, and there are some things in which he's clearly doing his own thing. He uses his timeouts creatively. He deploys defensives creatively. He has a totally different sideline demeanor that is all his own. And I've told you a few times this year how much I admire the way that he handles himself on the court. And I even started to see him, I think, during this tournament, start to work the refs a little bit more. And I know we were talking about how sometimes there were calls this year where we thought, oh, Jon Scheyer's not getting that call, even though Mike Krzyzewski would get that call. I think he is well on his way to becoming one of those coaches that the refs are like, shoot, we're reffing the Duke game tonight. Like, we gotta be careful what we do around Jon Scheyer, because he knows what's going on here. So I want to give a huge amount of credit for this win and for this tournament victory, not just to the guys on the court, Filipowski, Roach, we've talked about Lively, everybody, but Jon Scheyer did a masterful job leading this team this week.
I've got nothing to add to that. That is absolutely true. I sent a text to some friends of mine, and I said, I'm not sure if Jon Scheyer is going to actually physically raise his middle finger to the ACC media, but let's just remember that the guy who just won the tournament is the guy who got 0 Coach of the Year votes in his first season. I predict that the Jon Scheyer got 0 Coach of the Year votes in the rookie year that he won the ACC tournament. That will not age well for the ACC media voters.
I am sure that he would rather have the that he would rather have the banner than the individual trophy.
Hey, I got a couple other really, really quick things before we roll. First one is a couple incredible stats in this game. Duke has only 5 offensive rebounds in this game. I mean, like, this team, I'm so impressed that this team has reached the point where they can figure out different ways to beat people. Like we've won games by bombing away recently in this tournament. We won games by bombing away from 3. We've won games by grinding it out on the inside. We've won games by grabbing them on offensive rebounds. Like, doesn't matter what you throw up against us. We're going to figure out how to do it. But for Duke to win a game with only 5 offensive rebounds is really impressive.
Yeah, super weird that we mentioned as the good that Duke wins the turnover margin. They lose the offensive rebounding margin in this one.
They did win the overall rebounding battle, but yeah, no,
yes,
Virginia had more offensive rebounds than we did. Another weird stat that I noticed, you know, that Duke had 10 steals, like Virginia had 11 or 12, I think, turnovers. 10 of those were Duke steals. And they would come in like flurries. I mentioned, you know, Whitehead had a couple. I think Roach had a couple at one point. You know, it was Duke was getting a lot of steals in this game, and yet another sign of the great defense we played. And the last thing I want to mention regarding Jeremy Roach, Sam, tell me if you noticed this as well. It felt to me like, you know, announcers, everybody's talked a lot about the fact that, hey, this is Tyrese Proctor's offense that he runs now. Proctor is the guy who runs the O, and Jeremy Roach is playing off the ball. It felt to me in this game like Roach was on the ball a lot more. And it wasn't just the fact that Proctor didn't play as many. Proctor played 33 minutes, which is a little less than he sometimes does. Roach, by the way, played 39 minutes. Jeremy Roach basically didn't come out of this game. But it wasn't, even when they were both on the floor together, I felt like they were putting the ball in Jeremy Roach's hands a little bit more. And again, I think this is tournament Roach. This is March Roach. And Jon Scheyer's like, yeah, I'm going to ride you a little bit here. And I think that's an interesting development that we saw in this contest.
I hate making comparisons, you know, only to championship teams as I'm wont to do. But doesn't this feel a little bit like 2015 in the way that Jon Scheyer is deploying his guards, the way that Coach K did with Quinn Cook and Tyus Jones, where, you know, coming into the season, Quinn Cook was good, was not probably considered like a national championship winning point guard. He moves off the ball, but he still plays a huge role at both ends of the court. You know, taking his man, facilitating offense, and sort of giving Tyus Jones the space to operate in his best way. I feel like Jeremy Roach is playing a similar role. Not as good of a shooter as Quinn Cook was, but a much better driver, and clearly has figured out. We said that you know, my play of the game yesterday against Miami was Roach to Proctor, and we saw more of that today. I agree with you. It was cool to see that, and it tells me that Scheyer is continuing to tinker with the way that this lineup works, and the way that he's calling the offense, and the way that he's letting these guys sort of figure out how to play together.
Hey, last thing, at least from me, we are not going to record. We're not going to have another episode until after the selection show has announced where Duke is and what seed they are. I'm of the belief, especially considering how impressive, as I mentioned earlier, you know, these were all 3 of these wins that Duke had were reasonably comfortable wins. You know, we beat Virginia by 10 points. I mean, Duke is up to number 21 in Ken Pomeroy's rankings. I don't have the latest net rankings, but Duke is going to be like 14 or 15, maybe 13 in the net rankings after this victory. I think that the human polls will probably have us. We may be as high as like maybe 12 or 11 in the human polls. I won't be surprised if that's the case when the polls come out on Monday. I really think this Duke team's getting a 4 seed. I know that our record earlier in the year was pretty spotty, and that the selection committee has to consider the entire season. But we're probably getting a 4 seed, and there's going to be whatever region we're in, the number 1 seed in that bracket is going to pitch a fit. They're going to be furious to see Duke as a number 4, because we've won 9 in a row, and nobody wants a piece of this Duke team at this point.
And I told you yesterday, and I will stick to this, that that Duke beating UVA here, and then looking at who else is above Duke in the net, makes me feel very good that Duke is going to get a shot at staying at home and getting to go to Greensboro for the first weekend. A Greensboro Coliseum that, you know, even if there are vindictive ones out there, will not be full of Carolina fans.
Well, and what's more, a Coliseum that we literally just played in for 3 days, probably practiced in a day before that. There will be no one in that bracket who will be as experienced and
I don't know. Did UNC Greensboro win their conference tournament?
I'm not even sure.
They probably aren't eligible. I think because you can't.
Yeah,
play,
it'd be their home. Yeah. Regardless,
they're hosting it.
The way Duke has played these past 3 games in Greensboro, the notion of going back there next week to play a couple more, I'm all for it. I am all for that.
And then let's see if I don't know if Jon Scheyer is of the Coach K philosophy that he likes to stay close to home for tournaments, or if he's of the Jim Calhoun philosophy that he likes to go far away for tournaments. But assuming that he likes staying home, I'm also looking at who else is in, who else is vying for those 3, 4, 5 seeds. Feels like Duke might also potentially be on track to be in the East region and get to go to New York for a Sweet 16 if they made it that far. So an awesome performance. I'm not sure that this week could have gone much better for Duke in terms of beating Miami and UVA, teams that are very highly regarded and that Duke was probably directly competing with for a spot in the East region.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing more you can say about it. I can't imagine the ACC tournament could have, you were dead right about that. It could not have gone better. You blow Pittsburgh out of the water. You beat a really good Miami team that plays with outstanding guards in a high scoring game. And then you beat a Virginia team that's grinding you and just physical with you. And your 2 best players, Kyle Filipowski and Jeremy Roach, have great games, great tournaments to do it. I mean, we couldn't script it. We couldn't script this any better. Let's get out of here, man.
Pretty great. No bad you want to share?
No. Bad?
From this one?
No.
Duke holds UVA to 49 points. You don't want to do any bad?
No. I have no bad.
Right.
Are you kidding me? What bad would you have?
Let's leave it. Wait. 2 questions. So we got our play of the game is Filipowski to Proctor.
Yeah.
Jason, your player of the week?
Kyle Filipowski.
Kyle Nuts Filipowski.
Yeah.
Just showing up, being a dude.
Let me put it this way. As the headlines, as numerous people have sent us headlines that indicate the matter is closed, Kyle Filipowski is the ACC Tournament MVP.
K-Man sent us flip goes 0-20 in second shot at Who's.
Nice. So, that's another good headline.
Everyone's everyone's showing up for this. I love how many headlines we're getting instantly. This is sick. We might have to just do another recap of all the headlines tomorrow because I can't keep up with them. Okay. Donald Wine was here. He's now in Vegas. I don't know if you're out in Vegas tonight, look for him. I don't know if you'll find him, but you can certainly look for him. Jason Evans is here. He's been here the whole time. So thank you, Jason, for being here. I'm Sam Klein. I was your host for this episode. DBR podcast at gmail.com. The tournament's coming up. Kenny Denard's coming up. I think we have one more special guest coming this week, but I'm not going to tell you who it is because, folks, it's time for the NCAA tournament. Let's fire it up. DBR Bites, episode 20. ACC Champs. In his first season, Jon Scheyer is undefeated in the ACC tournament. We'll leave it there. Duke Band, take us home.
Yeah, baby.